Well, as the Commissioner General speaks, let's go to Amman and join UNRWA spokesman Tamara Alrifai. Tamara Alrifai, UNRWA has been warning for many days now that fuel was desperately short and that you may be forced into this position to drastically cut back what you can do. Is there a sense about what the top priority is now with the limited fuel that you do have?
Hi, Lyse. Everything is a priority because right now the question we're asking is, should we unplug incubators for premature babies in hospitals? Should we stop providing fuel to the bakeries, knowing that around 1 million people only get one piece of bread per day? Should we stop pumping clean water through our desalination plants? That's the only way for people to drink water that is not contaminated. This is the state of discussions that we have as aid workers, and it's really excruciating to have to ask ourselves these questions.
Is there anywhere else that you can go to get aid? Are there some of the many charities working in Gaza? Do they have fuel storage? And of course, Israel says that you should get your fuel from Hamas. They say that Hamas does have fuel stocks, but they're not sharing them.
We cannot talk about what others have in Gaza, including Hamas, but we should not be begging warring parties for fuel anyway. We're an independent UN organization that vets very, very strictly our vendors and our beneficiaries, and we deliver our aid directly. We should have our own resources. To put us in such a squeezed place and then tell us that one party, Hamas, has fuel, go and get it there, knowing what can come later if we effectively take this fuel, is really disingenuous and dishonest.
Are there any glimmers of hope? We can imagine that the talks are intensifying around the clock with many capitals, including Amman, where you are now, including the United States, to try to pressure Israel to find a way around this. So to reassure Israel, its main concern seems to be that any fuel which gets in will be diverted by Hamas. Is there a third way out of this in order to carry on those critical operations that you carry out there?
There is not going to be a way to conduct humanitarian operations without additional fuel coming into Gaza and given to UNRWA. We are the largest UN agency right now in Gaza. We support bakeries, water plants, hospitals, our own trucks that bring in the aid supplies, that meager trickle of aid supplies that's coming in through Rafah from Egypt. It's our trucks that bring it in and distribute it. Therefore, we are still addressing the Israeli authorities directly, but also asking friendly governments and governments who do influence or can influence Israel to step in. You mentioned the US, but also the European Union, Germany, the UK. We are talking and in discussions with countries that can help push our point across and guarantee that we will take care of our own fuel and we will only use it for humanitarian purposes.
Aside from fuel, Tamara Alrifai, what about the food, the water, the medicine? That has been approved. The United Nations has criticized that there's just not enough. But is it being stepped up?
It is not being stepped up. The logistical and security conditions are very, very complex. So to give you an example, it took 2 weeks of shuttle diplomacy and intense political negotiations at the highest levels to get in a total of 74 trucks of aid over the last 4 days. In terms of context, before this current crisis, Gaza used to receive 500 trucks per day of food and other supplies. 70% of Gazans already relied on food assistance before, humanitarian food assistance. Imagine their situation now with 1 million of them displaced, 600,000 of them inside UNRWA shelters, where they only have access to what we can provide them with, which is at times one piece of bread per day. 74 trucks in 4 days is very, very far from what Gazans need.
Tamara Alrifai, thank you very much for joining us from Amman, UNRWA spokesperson, keeping us up to date. What are the critical shortages and the growing fears of UNRWA, the biggest charity, the biggest UN agency providing for Palestinians in Gaza?